Alright, so this video was kind of rolling around in my head, and I was like, you know what? I want to do this as a legit video. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this question. Could the Black Universe conquer the Star Wars universe? Now, not too long ago, I did a video talking about how, basically doing a video talking about could the Red Corsairs survive in the Star Wars universe? And now we're going to go a little bit bigger with the Black Legion. So the big question is, can Abaddon lead the Black Legion to victory in the universe of Star Wars? Unleash a Black Crusade onto the Star Wars universe, and could it actually succeed? Now, which era are we going to be doing here? Well, for this, it's going to be the height of the Empire, the Galactic Civil War. So it'll just be really the Empire and maybe the Rebellion as the only real forces that could fight the Black Legion. But let's kind of talk about what that would look like. So for this to work, also, we're going to have to put in something else, that there would have to be a connection to the warp. There would have to be a legitimate connection that Abaddon and members of the Black Legion would depend on for this to work. So that's going to be the first major thing, is that we are going to have still a connection to the warp. So Chaos Psychers, as well as other members of the Black Legion, and even Abaddon himself has a chance of keeping this war going. Now, where I think the Black Legion would probably manifest the best is in the Outer Rim, excuse me, God. The Outer Rim is probably where the Black Legion would make their first few hits. They would probably be doing raids, they would be probably disrupting supply lines, and taking over planets. It wouldn't be like, when I said my Red Corsair video, the Red Corsairs wouldn't be interested in, they would be just doing hit and runs on planets and supply lines. Here, Abaddon would be looking to conquer as much ground as he could, and since there isn't much law in the Outer Rim is probably where the Outer Rim is not probably, it is the best place for the Black Legion to begin their attacks. That's where to build an empire is in the Outer Rim. You don't really have a lot of Imperial forces. You do have rebel groups, and obviously the Hutts and other gangs, but really, are you going to put the Pikes against an 8-foot-tall dude decked in armor that could hold its own? I don't think so. So that's the first thing, is that Abaddon is going to be committing his forces into conquering as much ground as he can, and learning about this. If they just dumped the Black Legion here, Abaddon is not an idiot. I think people depend more on, and this, I'm going to go into a mini tirade here, is that for the most part, it really does feel like half the damn time people depend more on memes than anything else to understand the characters. So Abaddon's not an idiot. Yeah, even the 13th Black Crusade, they didn't go exactly as planned. But here's the thing, though. They all had success in one way or another. And, I don't hear Sigismund, I don't see Sigismund around anymore. Oh, but Sigismund was old. Space Marines don't, age doesn't affect a Space Marine. If that were the case, Dante would have been folded by the Swarm Lord. And Dante was much older than Sigismund when he had fought Abaddon. Oh, but Abaddon had the blacks. No, he didn't. He didn't get that sword until after that Black Crusade. So I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. But getting back on topic is that, like I said, Abaddon is not a moron. He is going, if you dump the Black Legion into this universe, he'll be like, all right, so we're going to take some worlds, and we're going to establish some control. We are going to also take what we can find, and also we're going to be moving planet to planet pretty fast, because obviously there is some kind of big galactic power here, so we need to have some entrenchment as well as establishment in as many planets as we can before the said establishment comes to fight us. So that's what's probably going to happen first, is that Abaddon is going to be establishing an empire as fast as he can before the the Galactic Empire gets wind of it. Now, how fast that happens is predicated on how fast the Black Legion can move. I imagine the first ones that are going to tell the Galactic Empire are the Hutts. I think people forget the Hutts. One of the reasons why the Hutts got so powerful, and granted, they were already powerful to begin with, the Hutts got even better at it because the Empire was backing them. Why do you think Jabba had so many connections to the Empire? He was pretty tight with Darth Vader. Not that they liked each other, but like their goals really aligned. So that's why Jabba was so powerful, is because he had Imperial backing. So I imagine that, you know, if it's just the Pikes and the Black Suns who are getting, you know, folded first and foremost, the Hutts aren't going to care. But the moment the Black Legion kicks in the Hutts' teeth, Jabba's going to go cry to the Imperial forces, saying like, "Hey, these guys are here. They're pretty powerful. It would be really nice, you know, it'd be a real shame if someone has destroyed this mini empire they're trying to build." And that's when they're going to show up. Now, I've said before is that as much as I love Warhammer 40K, it doesn't hold a candle, technologically speaking, to Star Wars. Star Wars has the better technology because it's always advancing. It's always moving forward. Whereas Warhammer 40K, especially when it comes to like the human elements, they're in a constant state of decay. The only ones who are really advancing are the Leagues of Votann and the Leagues of Votann and the Tau. The Necrons too, but it's more like just digging up old god-killing technology, so you don't really do improve further than that. But here's the thing. The Black Legion does kind of, they do have some advancement. They do like to advance. Why? Because they have the Dark Mechanicum on their side. Remember, the Mechanicus split when the Horus Heresy happened, and Mechanicum do work for the Black Legion. And the Dark Mechanicum love advancing technology. So the moment they, I imagine the first few space battles with the Black Legion and Imperial forces probably not going to go well in Abaddon's favor. In fact, he's going to, like I said, Abaddon's not an idiot. He's going to lose those fights and then be like, run. Just fucking go. But eventually he's going to learn, and he's going to learn about their technology, turn it over to the Mechanicum and be like, get to work. So, yeah, the Mechanicum may take them a while, but I guarantee you they will be upgrading their weapons and probably even stealing a Star Destroyer or two at their leisure. Not to mention, they have this thing called a Black Stone Fortress in their, they have a few Black Stone Fortresses in their disposal, one of which Abaddon likes to use as his personal craft, and those things are as big as a Death Star. You know, the thing that the Imperial forces sank a lot of money into building 1.5, I should say. Anyway, so Abaddon they're going to lose a lot of the space battles at first, but here's the thing. Ground force wise, it's a bigger story. It's a different story. Now, I do think that when you have Chaos Knights fighting up against AT-ATs and AT-STs, that's a interesting combination. But the fact of the matter is that on the ground, you are not just fighting a simple Space Marine. You see, it's not the former Sons of Horus that you're going to be going up against in the Black Legion. You are going to be fighting. Here's the thing: the Black Legion is made up of all of the Chaos Legions, even some loyalist Marines that turn traitor. So you are not just facing off with the former Sons of Horus. You are fighting Emperor's Children. You are fighting World Eaters. You are fighting Death Guard. You are fighting Thousand Sons. You are fighting Word Bearers. You are fighting Night Lords. You are fighting traitor loyalist legions. You're fighting Iron Warriors. You're fighting everyone. And why I bring this up is because that always gave Abaddon an edge in the Black Legion. Because when you have such a diversity in your army, that gives you a different diversity of strategy. And each soldier is different. Each warrior has a different fighting style. Each regiment has a different fighting style. They have a different form of attack. They have a different plan. You can't predict a modus operandi if your army is that diverse. Therein lies the problem with Imperial ground forces. It's not just the fact that a Black Legion Thousand Son is going to turn a guy into make his insides turn outside, or like a 8-foot tall corn warrior just shit stomped a stormtrooper. Imperial regiment has a very high standard of rules. The Black Legion is whatever. If as long as you follow Abaddon, do whatever you want. Like if it gets the job done, do it. So you are basically fighting. You know, the Imperial Order is based on, that's it. The Galactic Empire is based on, you know, order and stiff regiment. Black Legion is the embodiment of chaos. They are literally hauling ass. They are literally like not only hauling ass across the galaxy. They are have a massive diversity in their army that it's impossible to predict. It is literally fighting a twisted, more evil version of the Rebellion. Only instead of the Rebellion, you're going to be fighting a bunch of Chaos Warriors who want to just bathe in your guts. Like, yeah. Not only that, these guys are going to be summoning demons out of nowhere. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that they're just going to be summoning demons right out of every which way. What was I going to say? Yeah, what is the Rebellion to think of this? The Rebellion, I think, would learn really quickly. The Black Legion is terrifying. Now, do I think they would ally with the Empire? No. Do I think they would run and hide and let the Empire and Black Legion go head-to-head? Depending on where we are timeline-wise, if and when the Rebellion does battle with the Empire, that's going to depend on how strong the Rebellion is. The Rebellion would probably be doing hit-and-runs against the Black Legion and the Empire, but they can't really commit themselves to fighting both. No matter how strong the Rebellion was, I mean, yeah, it was pretty strong towards the end of the Galactic Empire's reign and Return of the Jedi, but like it didn't have the force. It took everything they had to commit their forces into fighting their entire fleet into fighting the second Death Star in the Battle of Endor. But yeah, the major point that I'm trying to make here is that they couldn't commit themselves to a full, like, more than just hit and runs and, you know, good ship battles here and there. They couldn't really win a lot of ground forces. What do you think's going to happen when the Black Legion rolls up? Like, what do you think it's going to be like when the Black Legion decides, hi, this is ours now. Oh, and your soldiers are too. That's the other thing. The Black Legion isn't just made of Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Cultists. Like I said, there are Word Bearers in the Black Legion. There are Chaos Worshippers. They are going to be establishing Chaos cults on the planets to boost the numbers, and also use as sacrifices and slaves, and also as, you know, ways as conduits to bring in more demons. Yeah, that's kind of bad. Now, do I think the Black Legion could cut a swath to the core worlds and go straight to Coruscant to fight the Emperor? That's hard to say. Like, that's hard to say. The Black Legion is pretty powerful, but I don't think they have they wouldn't have the resources. I think they would reach the mid-rim, because once you reach, like, the outer rim's one thing, and depending on how fast the Empire, like, puts holds them down, because I do think in terms of space battle they will be holding their own, but the Black Legion can only sustain themselves as long as they have, like, Chaos Space Marines. There's no Gene Seed replacements here, so they're gonna have a bit of a problem there. Not only that, like, Abaddon, as smart as he is, does spread himself too thin at points, so I do think they would reach the mid-rim, but that's when, you know, the Imperial forces are probably going to be really stacking up. Not to mention you're going to be fighting a war with the Rebellion, who are going to be doing hit and runs against the Black Legion. But yeah, there is no real, it's difficult to say, like, how far the Black Crusade could actually get in the Star Wars universe. But I think it's going to get pretty damn far. Abaddon is an absolute nightmare. Yeah, he's an absolute nightmare. I think people forget how intelligent he is, and on top of that, a stormtrooper is not going to hold his own against your your basic Black Legion soldier, Black Legion Chaos Space Marine. But you guys tell me in the comments below, do you think the Black Legion could conquer the Star Wars universe? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.